Good morning, and welcome to another poorly made episode of Thoughts of a Patrol Officer with Officer Ben. The topic for today, this is a special episode because I want to talk about my friend Lenny. My friend Lenny runs a Facebook page called Poorly Made Police Memes. I'm actually drinking out of one of his coffee cups right now. You may have seen him on Facebook and Instagram. And I want to tell you about my buddy Lenny and his podcast, the Poorly Made Police Podcast. I don't know if a lot of people know about this podcast yet, but it's a real hidden gem. I'm trying to think about where to start. So I've been listening to his podcast for a while, and I've been a guest on the podcast several times now, and I've gotten to know Lenny pretty well. I want to tell you about him as a person because I think a lot of people overlook that stuff. Lenny was a police officer in Colorado for the better part of 10 years. He started in 2012, I think I saw on one of his posts. And his father was a police officer. Being a police officer is something that he wanted to do his entire life. He was a very good police officer. If you listen to his stories, you can hear the way he talks about it. You can hear the passion he has for law enforcement and being a police officer. With everything that happened in the year 2020 with all the riots and all the political upheaval and everything, there were some laws passed in Colorado that made it very dangerous for a police officer to have a career in that state. And with that, and the fact that he has a whole litter of children and a wife, he decided that a career in law enforcement was no longer a thing for him. Just the outside stresses and everything of the job got to a point where he decided it was no longer worth it. He made a decision that a lot of police officers are making in today's world. He decided to use his platform I don't know how many followers he has on Facebook, but it's a ton. He has hundreds of thousands of followers on Facebook and Instagram. So he decided to use that platform to create a podcast, and it's called the Poorly Made Police Podcast. And the reason he names everything poorly made is because, kind of like me, he's not an expert at doing this stuff. He's just someone that has a passion and wants to share his passion with others. So the podcast was one where he uses his platform to reach out to police officers across the globe. And basically he just calls them and they have a conversation for an hour or two. If you listen to his podcast, you get to hear stories from police officers around the world. He's had police officers from the UK. He's had Irish police officers. He's had California police officers. He recently had a Chicago police officer. He one of my favorite episodes that I listened to more recently was had a husband and wife combo. But with this, he actually had a wife who is a police officer and a husband who is not, which is a little bit more rare in the world of law enforcement. And he talks to these officers about, their background, what made them become police officers, and just different things about how policing is done in different places around the country. And one of the interesting things, or one of the really cool things, is that while everybody is different and the environment they work in is very different, a lot of officers across the country are experiencing a lot of the very same things. You might even say that that's what the thin blue line represents. That he's talking to police officers from around the world, believe it or not, and you find out it's not the things that they have in common that you would expect. He actually gets a little bit deeper on these things, and I don't think he's doing it on purpose. I don't think he's smart enough to do it on purpose, but he's very good at what he does. I'm very proud of the podcast that he's put together, and I don't know, he does a very good job of it. He's like the Joe Rogan of police officers. I've heard a couple other police type podcasts, and generally I can't stick with them, but the way he does it, he's very interesting, and he does it in a good way. I really appreciate the way he does his podcast, and I think more people will if they give it a shot. So I wanted to take a minute to talk about Lenny and the Poorly Made Police Podcast and encourage everybody to go check it out. he didn't ask me to do this, and I'm not going to make any money off of doing this. This is just something that from the bottom of my heart, I think is a good thing to promote. And like I said, I've been on the podcast a couple of times, and hopefully I'm going to be on a few more times in the future. We have some stuff planned, but I wanted to give you a taste of what the podcast is like if you haven't listened to it yet. So he did an episode with me, and it was season 2, episode 3. Said thank you for your service, where we talked about a variety of topics. We talked about the thin blue line flag and what it means, if it's cringy or not. The sheepdog analogy, if you're not familiar with it, we talk about that, and maybe people who are abusing some of the symbols that police officers use as kind of like their motto type of stuff. And then we also talked about, well, we went on a little tangent about people saying thank you for your service. And I have kind of an interesting story that I tell people when people say thank you for your service to me, because it's something that I have a hard time accepting. I have a hard time believing that what I do is service, because I'm doing the job that I do is just something I think I was created for. So I do what I'm supposed to be doing, and I don't feel that is service. I feel that I don't know. I'm just doing what I'm supposed to be doing, just like everybody else should be. And if you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing, you need to re-examine your life. So there's only, I think it's about 2 or 3 minutes of the podcast I'm going to put on the end here. And then from that, I'm just going to go ahead and get out of the way. So do me a favor, do everyone a favor, do yourself a favor. Go check out the Poorly Made Police podcast. Give Lenny a listen. And then also make sure to go visit his sponsors, because this is how he's supporting his family, and he deserves your support. So thanks for watching. Enjoy the clip from the podcast. I'll talk to you guys later. Thanks back and go, I've gotten a lot better. I used to say, well, I don't do it for you, but I had to stop. I still do that with the military. People will ask me, because I carry this like angry face around everywhere I go, because I don't want people to talk to me. And I have a lot of like American flag hats and crap everywhere I go. Everyone's like, are you a veteran? And they're like, thank you for your service. And I look at them, I'm like, I didn't do it for you, which is the truth. But yeah.
But you did. Even if you didn't realize you did, you did. So Ben, thanks for your service.
Like, well, I'm going to go on a tangent here for a moment.
Go for it, buddy. I'm here for it.
Yeah, because with that kind of thing, and I don't like hijacking your podcast to talk about my military record.
I don't even know what I'm doing. Go ahead.
That's fine. I don't either. But honestly, when I was a kid, I didn't know what the hell I was going to do with my life. I came from a split parent home. My parents were divorced when I was like 2 or 3. We were on welfare. We didn't have cars that worked. Almost never. When I was in high school, I had to work multiple jobs in order to get a car and do some certain things. I was not on pace to probably graduate at one point in high school. I wasn't going to get into college. I wasn't going to do anything. I had no plan. I joined the military. The military is what saved me, you know. Took this kid who had nothing going for him. Never probably would have left the small town that I grew up in. I got to travel the world. I've been to probably 40 or 50 different countries. Got to go to combat, got to see what the world is really like for these people who have nothing, that live on dirt floors and, you know, go through horrible, horrible things. And I was able to take that experience, come home, go to college, and graduated with damn near 4.0. So when people tell me, thank you for your service for being in the military, and I tell them, no, I didn't do it for you, I mean that, because I did it for me. It was a very selfish thing. And I wouldn't be like the person I am today, and I wouldn't have the house I have, and my kids wouldn't have the life that they have if I hadn't done that. So that's my take on that. That's when I say I didn't do it for you, I really mean it was a selfish thing for me to do. And
okay,
I don't know.
Just say thank you and move on. Okay. I feel like a dick saying that because you just like poured your heart out, but as like, there's only one appropriate response here.
I do now, but the military thing still bothers me when people say that.
Just to add